The books I want to share with you today are The Silliest Dragon by Brian Rathbone, Dragon's Breath by Michael Gordon, I Don't Want to Eat Bugs by Rachel Branton, and Aria Finds Her Voice by Sarah Palmer. As usual, I've got links to these books in the description. Please support them and read their books and enjoy this review. The Silliest Dragon by Brian Rathbone and illustrated by Matt Ostrom is a book about a silly dragon. And it is a good book, I think, probably for kids who aren't reading yet, your own silly dragons. And it kind of puts the dragon, tells the story of the dragon as if they were a child, right? Doing the things that children do, the silly things, the playful things, blowing bubbles, hide and seek, things like that. And not a ton of words, but there is a rhyme scheme. It gets disrupted one time to play with color meaning of the meaning of a word, the word blue, meaning sad, but also being literally a color, and disrupts that rhyme scheme and creates that moment. So playfully done on that front. I enjoyed that. And to me, it struck me as more of almost more a poem with some images, as both the poetry of it and the images are starting points for you and your obviously silly dragon to jump off from looking at the pictures, telling the stories about what's happening, and what would a silly dragon dream about. And so in that way, I think it's a good book with children who aren't reading yet, but who have imagination and perhaps are speaking more frequently and telling stories and things like that. So that's The Silliest Dragon. Dragon's Breath is a book by Michael Gordon. I enjoyed the illustrations. It has a rhyme scheme that and plenty of words to reinforce and kind of enjoy the melodic and rhythmic quality, written thoughtfully with regard to that rhythm. So fun to read out loud. I read most of it aloud to myself, and I think the underlying themes of how, right, in this book, the main character makes a misstep by sort of passive-aggressively attempting to instruct, encourage, and change the behavior of a dragon who is sort of in the role of a sibling in the household. So there's mistakes, missteps, and then rectifying that while also addressing the underlying issue that the dragon needs help with. And I think it's cleverly done. I think it's not only enjoyable as a narrative for you and your child, but also if you're attempting to help your child understand how they relate to and can have an impact, positive or negative, on their siblings, this would be a good book to read. Because in the end, the boy helps the dragon come along in ways that the dragon can actually follow, in ways that maintain the dragon's self-respect, things like that. So yeah. And what else might I say? It's a second dragon-related book today, and it's another Michael Gordon book overall that I've reviewed, and I'm enjoying Michael Gordon's books. I think that's what I'm saying. That's how I'm end with. Probably read some more in the future. Weaves together the engaging images as well as writing with meanings and themes that are down to earth, practical, but principled. I Don't Want to Eat Bugs is written by Rachel Branton and illustrated by Tim Petersen. It occasionally rhymes, but it is a narrative, and I think this is probably a good book. If you've got two children, one of whom is getting close to being able to read and is more interested in being able to follow the narrative, and then another who's maybe younger or simply is less linguistically oriented, but still enjoys and is engaged with illustrations. There are in the language that's used, one thing that I have come to appreciate is exclamations, exclamatory phrases with words that connect with children's experience. So those get called out in this book with exclamation points, location of the text, and there's a different color for some of the final words, those words that connect with the children. So I liked that, and it helps to generate, as you read, whether you're a confident reader or not as a parent, exclamations can help to create a rhythm and dynamism that will keep the ears of your children engaged with the language that they're hearing. The illustrations have depth and detail. They have caricature type of style, but not too much, not over the top. So, plenty to look at. And along those lines, the author and illustrator have included a game at the end of the book that you can kind of play. You can go back through and go through each of the illustrations and count up the appearance of the different characters and different items and things like that. So they give you a list and tell you how many there are. And so that would be a fun way to appreciate the book a second, third time. And maybe if as you negotiate bedtime, maybe you say, well, if you want to put the kids to bed quickly, we'll do the counting, but we're not going to read the story, right? We'll find, or if you read through it and they want to play, you can pick out, tonight let's find the mice tonight and the frogs and, that kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of fun. And overall it is an imaginative and enjoyable narrative that takes you through the things that those moments of waiting for dinner when you're hungry and thinking about what other animals eat and engaging with the world around you while you wait for the things that you desire. Not sure if that's a theme that they were going for, but it's a theme that I found in it and appreciated. When there's things you can't rush, look around and learn. Aria Finds Her Voice is written by Sarah Palmer and illustrated by Kylie Box. Illustrations are wonderfully engaging. They have there's simplicity to the human characters, almost cutouts, but there's depth created with detail, some shadow, and although simplified, there's expressiveness in each of the faces, the movements of the characters. So I think wonderfully done on that front. Also, there's the metaphors and images that are present in the text come through also in the visuals. And the narrative that we followed, the language is it's a story being told, and eventually becomes a walking of a path. It almost reminded me, well, no, not almost, but it did remind me of narratives like that of Buddha, and encountering, connecting with different people, and in this case, animals, birds, along that road, and the acquiring experience and wisdom from those, in this case, birds. And as the character goes along and interacts, I think this is a theme, right? She is learning from encountering and listening to these creatures. And I think that's one of the ways I could see this being understood and having it play out for introverts is a collecting, a reflecting, from the world around you, the path that you're along or walking along, to help you understand yourself. And as this book is about finding her voice, your introspective journey can be informed by the listening that you, as an introvert, kind of tend to do with others. Now, she encounters these figures, and I want to get back to the language for a second. You have the opportunity as a parent reading this to do plenty of voices, because each of these, there's an owl, there's a kookaburra, there's an eagle, etc. There's a crow. And she collects something of value, a feather from each of them that has symbolism associated with it. And I think it's appropriate for the story of an introvert that they discover their voice almost through nature, through a separation from the social environment. But of course, part of what's happening is this journey is, these aren't just mythical, and these aren't, these are representations more of experience in life and interactions with other people too, right? Not actually talking to the birds, although there is some wisdom to be gained there, I'm sure, of that type of listening. It ends with a note on confidence in who you are, and I think in one way, right, one of the concerns I had when I started out was, this finding your voice in a world where it's almost like a cacophony of voices overlapping, sort of overwhelming extroversion. Do we really need introverts to find their voice, or do we need extroverts to find some peace? Of course, both things are true. And there is some harmony at the end where, having found her voice, Aria recognizes the power that comes from silence and comfort with silence. And that is something, the voice, taken less literally and more figuratively, of introverts really has that's one of the ways that, one of the contributions that introverts can make in the world. But my own meanderings aside, the journey that this character goes on is engaging. It is well structured. The illustrations are thoroughly engaging. They have a very solidly cute and a solidly cute tone to them that is very pleasant. And again, the characters are expressive, and I think you'll come to have some, especially with what I mentioned about the different birds. You, as a parent reading this to your child, will have some fun with voices, and they will too. Thank you for listening to this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I trust you did, and I also trust that you'll check out these authors and illustrators, these artists, by clicking the links in the description to buy their books and enjoy their work and share it with your children. Thank you.